Hello and welcome to the Class of 2027 course request presentation. We are going to go over some things in this presentation. In this recording, we're not going to introduce specific counselors, but we are going to go over graduation requirements, making plans for selecting courses for next year, and knowing what to do in order to make those selections. Specifically, what we need students to do in the next few weeks is to make sure that they have a full schedule of 7 credits. This can be a combination of semester-long courses, each which equal 0.5 credits, or year-long courses, which equal 1 credit. Keep in mind that students, by passing a D with a D in a class, they will earn credit and make progress towards graduation. Here's an example of a 9th grade schedule. This is a pretty typical schedule. The important thing to note is for year-long courses, you want to make sure that you pick the A version for first semester and the B version for second semester. So you can notice that on the Lit Analysis and Composition class. This is ELA. The Social Studies class, World History 1 and 2, is actually split into 2 semesters. So there's not an A and B, just a 1 and 2. Algebra, 1A, 1B for this student, biology, 1B and A, and so on. So you can see the same for Spanish. And then for semester-long courses, there is no A and B designation. It's just the course. Here are the graduation requirements for the class of 2027. Students need to pass 24 credits, but because of our 7-period day, students have the opportunity to earn 28 credits. So the majority of our students graduate with more credits than they need. We're going to go over these specific credits in a bit in terms of what students should pick for 9th grade. But in general, students need 4 years of English, 3 years of social studies, which includes world history, US history, and a civics course, 3 years of math, in 9th through 12th grade. So any 7th or 8th grade math classes that students take count for elective credit. They will have to take 3 years of math in high school, 3 years of science, a year of what we call CTE, current technical ed, 1.5 semesters of PE, or 1.5 years of PE, a semester of health, 1 year or 2 semesters of art, 2 years of world language. If they are going directly into 4-year college, they can choose a personal pathway or other electives if they don't plan to go directly into 4-year college. And then, of course, electives. Sometimes it's confusing for students and parents. Please know all classes earn at least elective credit for students, and elective credits are needed to progress towards graduation. Additional requirements include what we call a graduation pathway. It's not something to really be concerned about at this point in time. All of our students will take the SBA in 10th grade. That's one way to meet this requirement. They also have the option to take some tests later on that might be related to their post-high school classes, their post-high school plans. There are dual credit classes that they can take in order to meet this pathway. We work with our students in their junior year to make sure that they have a way to meet this graduation pathway. Each year, students also have to work on their high school and beyond plan. There are lessons in a program called Cello that your student has actually already started. They started that in 7th grade and in 8th grade in their middle school. And then Washington State history. If your student was here last year in 7th grade, they likely met this credit by passing their social studies class. But if they were not here or didn't pass the course, we do have a high school course available. So going through subject by subject, next year, here are your options for humanities for your students. So we have the regular option for English, Lit and Literature Analysis and Composition 1, and there's also an honors option. Same with world history. There's a regular college prep option, and then there's an honors option. When your student's deciding to choose between honors and regular, we wanted to have them think about balance in their lives and how many courses they're taking in terms of homework load, difficulty load, what other things they have going on in their life that may reduce the amount of time they have for homework and studying after school. How they've done in these courses in the past is an indicator of how they've done in the future. So if it's been a course area where it's difficult for them. Sometimes it's good to just choose the regular college prep option, which is world history or the regular English course. Talking to their current teachers can help them make a decision about what's the best course for them next year. And in general, the learning recommendation to move on to an honors course is having a B+ or higher in their current course. Here's the pathway for options for students in math. You'll see, depending on the class that they took in 8th grade, there is a suggested pathway for them for the next 4 years. We highly recommend making sure that students read the learning recommendations for these courses. And if for some reason a student took algebra or geometry or algebra 2 in middle school and they're not feeling ready to move on to the next level, one thing they can do is repeat the course in 9th grade and kind of change the track that they're on. And we can talk to you, the counselors can talk to them a little bit more about that, and their math teachers if that is something that they need to consider in order to have success in high school and in their math track. Algebra 1 is a really important foundational class for success in our later math classes. And so for any student who's starting Algebra 1 this year, in 9th grade and wants additional support, we have a class called Algebra 1 Lab, which is for elective credit. And they can take that course in addition to Algebra 1 to get a support for a successful year in Algebra 1. We also have a course that's not listed in this chart called pre-algebra. So for any student that's feeling not ready to go on to Algebra 1, they can take pre-algebra in 9th grade for elective credit, and then start Algebra 1 in 10th grade and still have 3 years left to complete their math credits for graduation. And that still allows them to finish high school with Algebra 2. So they can take pre-algebra in 9th grade, Algebra 1 10th grade, Geometry 11th grade, and Algebra 2 or Personal Finance their senior year. We do have multiple science options for 9th graders. So most of our 9th graders are going to take biology, but some 9th graders who are either took biology in 8th grade and aren't feeling ready to move on to chemistry, or are not feeling ready to move on to biology, they can take a combination of 2 semester courses, physics lab method and chem lab methods, and then move on to biology the following year. Most of our students who took biology in 8th grade are going to be looking at taking chemistry in 9th grade. But if they're not feeling ready, again, that's a good time to talk to your science teacher and your 8th grade school counselor about what's the best choice for your student in 9th grade. They can repeat biology if they'd like to, or they could take physics lab methods and chem lab methods. It's important to look at the learning recommendations in the course guide for the science course that you are considering requesting for next year. And of course, talking to your current teacher about your selections. We have lots of world language options for students next year. So French 1, Mandarin 1, Japanese 1, Spanish 1, and ASL 1. For any student who took level 1 of French, Spanish, or ASL in middle school and had a successful grade in there and a successful year, they can move on to level 2 of that language. It's important to note that 4-year colleges want 2 credits or 2 years of the same world language. Some highly selective schools might recommend 3, but most only require 2. You do want to consider how you did in the first level of the course before moving on to the second level of the course. So we really want a C or higher in the first level, as do colleges. For anybody interested in going on to a 2-year school, technical school, military, or straight into the job force after high school, world languages are not required, and they can fulfill those credits instead with what we call their personal pathway or other elective credits that are more related to their high school, post-high school plan. And then we do have a lot of students in our district who are fluent in another language. And so it is an option for them. Instead of taking language courses, they can take a test and demonstrate a level of proficiency that gets placed on their transcript once they're here in high school. So that's called the World Language Proficiency Exam. So that's an option for some of our students who are bilingual or multilingual. As mentioned earlier, students have to take 1.5 years of PE in order to graduate. A semester of that, or 0.5 credit of that PE, must be taken in an ISD PE class. So that can include something during the school day, something in summer school through ISD, or through Running Start. There is an option to waive up to 1.0 credit of PE by taking by participating in IHS sports or some sort of outside activity or sport that a student is involved in. And again, that's something that we talk to students about once they're here in high school. I also want to note that for the half credit of health that's required for graduation, it's really only possible to satisfy that by taking the ISD health course. There's very few exceptions, but students can do that at some point in the next 4 years. They can do it through ISD online summer school. They can also do it through Running Start as a junior and senior. So there's lots of opportunities to fit health in somewhere in their schedule in the next 4 years. But it can be good to try to plan in 9th grade. And then if your student's looking for electives, art classes, career and technical ed classes, checking out these 3 categories in the course guide will help them look at all the options that are available to them in 9th grade. They can look for semester-long options or year-long options in any of these departments in the course guide as they're trying to make selections for what they might enjoy taking in 9th grade. We also have a class called Guided Studies, and this is a class that is elective credit. Students can take it for a semester or for a full year. They can find it in their course selections by using these course guides here, WGS 100 and 101. It's a class for students who need a little more help getting their homework in on time, planning out how to do homework for 6 to 7 different classes, help with communicating with teachers, help studying for a course, extra help in a particular course area. So it's a great class for students who need additional support to be successful in class and to build in some time in the school day to get some homework and studying done. So if this is a class your student might be interested in, it might be good to reach out to your current 8th grade school counselor to talk about potentially adding this to your course selections. We do have some students who are coming in with high school credit because they've taken a high school class during 7th and or 8th grade. So here's some examples of some of the classes they may have taken: first year of their world language, some math or science. Those grades and credits are automatically being transcribed on the student's transcript. Students can opt out of that once they are in high school. We will meet as high school counselors, we will meet with all of our students in their junior year and ask them, do they want to keep this credit on their transcript, and have that conversation at that time. We highly recommend that students wait until their junior year before deciding to remove any of these credits from their transcript. But just know that they are placed on the student's transcript and they can remove them in high school. Some other helpful things to remember while they're making choices for what they'd like to request for next year include knowing that the more graduation requirements students are able to plan to meet early on in high school, the more elective choices they have later on in 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. In 9th grade, every student will take a graduation requirement in every single one of their classes. What I mean by that is they earn credit for every class that they take, and every class that they take will meet a graduation requirement. Mostly